And the shelf is definitely a people's favorite. First off, the light, I have nothing bad to say about that. I removed the CO2, I stopped dosing liquid fertilizers, and I've also reduced the light intensity. Hello, doctor? Yeah, it's Mark. I was just wondering if you already had the results from the blood test. Bad? Multiple tank syndrome? Oh, I never heard of that. What's up everybody, welcome to another video. Hope you're doing well. So apparently I have multiple tank syndrome. I said to the doctor like it's not possible because I only have 9 tanks. I think it's called multiple tank syndrome once you cross the border of 10. So I think I'm still good, but maybe it's just a light version. All jokes aside, today we're going to take a look at all of my tanks. It's been a very long time since we did like a room tour. So today we're going to take a look at all of them. We're going to feed the fish, talk a little bit about the equipment, the plants, and the future. Yeah, see what's going to happen in the future. So let's get started. So just to give you guys a bit of an overview, we have the big shallow over here. That's the biggest one, 180 liters. Then we have the shelf with 5 tanks. So we have the VASE. Does that count as well, the VASE? It's like 3 liters, like 1.5 gallons, something like that. Maybe even less. So we have 5 here. Then we have one more over there on the table. And then on the other side of the room we have 2 more. So that is 9 in total. So let's start with the one on the most left side. So this one here is basically my most detailed aquascape. This is like a real proper diorama style forest aquascape. And I've set this up I think in beginning of August. So it's like almost 4 months old now. Now normally I like to keep my layouts a bit more simple. But this is this is far from simple, but this is something I wanted to create for a long time already, like a proper forest aquascape, and I think it turned out quite well. Quite happy with how it looks, but I'm thinking of making a few small changes. I'm not really happy with the left side of the aquarium. It needs a bit more work, but that'll be another video. So in this aquarium we have some micro rasboras. This is not the mosquito rasbora, but this is a different kind. I forgot the name for a second. I'll put it on the screen. And then we also have a small group of the scarlet bodies. So there's like a beautiful male with lots of beautiful red colors. And this one is, could be a female, but I'm not entirely sure. With these bodies, you just never know. Like they can be super pale and then you think, oh, it's a female. But then it's just a male that's not really colored up properly. Actually, let's give these guys some food. I have here my usual dry flakes. This is organic Sparrow flakes. And over here I have a treat for them as well. This is like Tubifex worms. So this is like a small snack for them. Well, that did not go according to my plan. I thought I'll put the worms in and these guys are gonna go absolutely nuts for it. But they didn't give one rat's ass. So let's just continue talking about the aquarium itself. So this is a nano aquarium measuring 40 centimeters left to right. It's 30 centimeters high and it's 30 centimeters front to back as well. So it holds about 40 liters. Then we have the light. This is a Skylight AQI Intense 40 something. Difficult name. Very beautiful light. It does have one downside, just a little bit, because the light itself is only, like the module is only this big, you know. So on the edges I'm missing a little bit of light, especially over here on that side. If we look over here on this side of the aquarium, the left side, you can see that this plant right here is, it's just struggling a little bit. Like the stems are completely bare, only the tops are looking nice. So that one is just not receiving enough light. Same goes for the moss that's on this side of the stick. It's also not really growing too well. So that's a bit of an issue. You see over here on the right side is looking a lot better. Like the Myriophyllum Guyana is just looking much healthier, a lot more dense. Oh, there's another scarlet bodice. Oh, I think these two just found the worms. I think they were eating something while I was not looking. Yeah, I really love these fish. Look at the red color and those blue stripes in the fins. Well, if you would be a female, then maybe we could have some babies. That would be nice. But yeah, just not entirely sure on that. Something else that I have on this aquarium what I really like is this light screen. So you can see here behind the glass we have something like a background. So this is actually an illuminated background. See if I can remove it properly. So this is just a screen with some LED lights inside, and this is from a company called Flux Aqua, and I'm actually doing a giveaway on my Instagram page. We're giving away 3 of these light screens for aquariums that are up to maximum 45 centimeters. So if you look there in the middle, you can see this nice greenish tint, and just add something extra to this aquascape, in my opinion. Now below the aquarium is a little bit messy. I'm going to show you anyway. We have an external canister filter. This is a JBL E701. Then we have a CO2 bottle behind that, and the CO2 goes through the tank with this inline diffuser. So if you look at the outflow, you see these really tiny CO2 bubbles. So we have this really fine CO2 mist that dissolves really easily into the water, making sure we have perfect CO2 levels. Yeah, this guy definitely found the worms. Still sticking out of his mouth. These guys are like little predators, you know, like they don't really go so crazy for like the dry food, but these live worms, they will go absolutely crazy for it. So that was the 40-liter Aquascape. Now let's move on to the shelf. And the shelf is definitely a people's favorite. I get a lot of questions about this shelf, where I bought it and stuff, what's the dimensions. So I'll put a link of the shop where I bought it in the video description. Definitely check that out. But the thing is that, yeah, they only ship to the Netherlands and I think maybe Belgium. So if you're not from around here, I don't think you can buy it. So that's a bit of a bummer. But let's talk about these small nano aquariums. So on top we have the 10-liter cube. This one has been up and running for, I think it's been more than a year already. So this one is going to be taken down soon. I'm a bit sick of it. Yeah, sounds a bit harsh, but I just need something new, you know. Like, I think this one has had a good run. It's just also not really looking that fresh anymore. I mean, the moss is just a bit, yeah, it just looks okay-ish. But we have some really nice Bucephalaandras and some small newbies in here that I really like. And there's a ton of shrimp in here as well. But besides that, it's just not really wow anymore. So we'll do something different in here very soon. I do like these floating plants, the redwood floaters. They look really good. I'm not really dosing any liquid fertilizers in here, so they're going completely red. There's quite a powerful lamp on here as well. This is a Creaqua Nano S. Quite a strong light, so usually I actually have more floating plants in here just to block out some of that strong light. There's actually no filter in here as well. Might be interesting to say that as well. This one is running without a filter for many months already. I did originally start with a filter, but I just removed it because I just wanted something that's a bit more low maintenance and low energy and just easier to maintain. So I'm not gonna add any food to this aquarium right now. Like I said, there's just a few shrimp in here. There's one right there, just shrimp, and I'm trying to keep waste down because this one doesn't have a filter. So no food, and these guys will only get food like maybe once a week, maybe once in 2 weeks, and there's enough for them to go around. Let's move on to the vase. So this one is very similar to the cube, same concept, no filter, just a lot of plants, and the plants do the filtration. So we have the floating plants again. We have some immersed growing Ludwigia, which is beautifully red, really popping. We have some moss on the wood, we have some pearlweed, we have more moss down below, we have Bucephalaandra, we have some crypts and some Java fern petite. And yeah, that's it. Again, just shrimp in here. It's too small for anything else. And this is again something that's very low maintenance. I am doing a water change pretty much every week. That's just because this little sand beachy area here collects a lot of like detritus, and I'm trying to keep it looking clean. So once a week I'll just siphon out the mulm from the bottom and just do a small water change. It literally takes less than 5 minutes. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this vase. It's just super low maintenance. There's no technique, just the light, no filter, no heater, no CO2. And yeah, most of my tanks are a little bit more high tech, so it's nice to have something low tech as well, you know. Okay, then we're going crisscross. So we started on the top right, then we moved left. Now we're going right again. Here we have the 20-liter cube. I did a video about this one recently where I showed you guys how I did a like a really heavy trimming session where we trimmed all the moss and the stems and some of the carpet, and it's growing back pretty good. So this one is my oldest Aquascape. This one was set up in July 2019. So in that video I asked you guys if I should keep it for longer or if I should rescape it and try something new, and I think 90% of the comments people just said to keep it going as long as possible. I have to say I haven't decided yet myself. I do really love this aquarium. I think it just looks really good. I mean, it's only 20 liters, but it just has so much detail, there's so much going on. We have all the moss, we have the stems, we have the Bucephalandra and the small Nubias, and then we have a little bit of the carpet here as well. We have a nice beachy area. So yeah, it's a beautiful nano tank, and I think it will definitely be hard to make something that looks better than this. So maybe it's a good idea to just keep it. Question I get asked often is like, how long can you keep an aquascape? How long can you keep an aquarium running like this? And I just think that you can keep it running for as long as you want. I mean, yeah, I'm using AQUASOIL on this, and that will at some point stop giving nutrients. It will like just be depleted. You can always add nutrients back with just simple root taps, you know. And if you enjoy maintenance, then you can just keep it up for as long as possible. Of course, this one is not very easy to maintain. It does require quite some work. But if you don't mind putting in the work, then you can just keep it going for as long as possible. I mean, sometimes you might have to do some repairs. So sometimes the moss just gets disattached from the wood, and then you might have to glue it back again, or some plants might need some replanting. But these are just minor issues that you can always overcome. And yeah, this one does have CO2 injection. We have a very simple DIY CO2 with sugar, yeast and some gelatin as well. And that's working really well for me. So it's on 24/7. I never shut the CO2 off. And if you just have proper surface agitation like here, you never have to be afraid that your fish are gonna die from carbon dioxide poisoning or whatever. So what I really like about this nano cube is how simple it actually is. I mean, it does look like a very high-tech aquarium with a lot of fancy technique, but it's just super simple. Like DIY CO2, that costs like €5. Then there's this very small internal filter that also doesn't cost much. The only thing that's a little bit expensive here is the light. This is a Chihiros C2, and I think this one is new, like €90, something like that. What I'm trying to say is that it's just a testament that you don't really need fancy technique to be able to create something beautiful, you know. So in this aquarium we again have a lot of shrimp, and we actually have two types. So we have the red ones, those are the cherry shrimp, of course, and then we have the Malawa shrimp. That's the ones that don't really have any color. That's the basic ones. And then we have some fish, just a few. We still have 2 amber tetras. So basically, like 3 or 4 years ago, I bought a large group of amber tetras, and these 2 are the only ones that are left from that original group. I actually recently bought another group of amber tetras that are in the big shallow. I'll show you guys later. I've been thinking of adding these 2 to that large group because there's like 30 of them in the big shallow. But it's every time you push a net into this aquarium, they're gone. You know, they go behind the hardscape, and it's just impossible to catch them. Besides the 2 amber tetras, there's also still one Paskai rainbow. That's the orange Paskai rainbow. A beautiful fish. Again, I bought a large group a long time ago, and this is one of those long-term survivors. So that's the 20-liter cube done. Then we still have 2 left. These are also 20 liters. And this is my TwinScape experiment. So if you've never been on this channel before, if you never watched any of my videos before, I'll give a quick explanation. I'm doing some experiments. So right now we're running a substrate experiment. We're testing AQUASOIL versus dirt. So I'll leave the video about this experiment on the screen right now. So I'm not going to talk about these 2 tanks for too long, because I literally just did a video about this last week. But right here we have the tank with dirt. And this one I just trimmed, same as the other one. I just trimmed all the stems in the background. We have a lot of Rotalas, some Ludwigia and some Micranthemum. I just trimmed it yesterday, and now we're gonna wait for it to grow back, see which tank grows back faster, the AQUASOIL or the dirt tank. And we also just added some guppies to this aquarium. So these are the yellow tiger antler guppies, looking really good. So let's give these guys some food. Let's give them some tubifex worms and see if they like it or not. Yeah, I'm really happy that I got these yellow tiger antler guppies. They've been in here for a few days now, and it would really be nice to for them to have some babies. And again, they're guppies, so that shouldn't really be a problem. Besides the guppies, we also have a few autocinclus. These also have just been introduced a few days ago, and they already have been going crazy on the algae. There was some dust algae and some diatoms, like you see on the filter inlet. There's still some diatoms, and these autocinclus have been definitely doing a good job on getting rid of those algae. So these two experiment tanks both have the exact same technique. So we have a 36 centimeter opti-wide aquarium, holds about 20 liters. Then we have the light, we have the Chihiros C2 series. We have a hang on the back filter, that's the Dennerle Scapers flow. I'll put all the links to all the technique in the video description, by the way. And then CO2, below that we have the CO2 systems. I need to get like a big bottle, and then with just one CO2 regulator that can go through all the tanks, because right now it's a bit messy. We have 3 CO2 tanks in here. So this is the citric acid and baking soda system from Colombo. This is just a regular 2 kilogram pressurized bottle, and that's the DOI CO2 for the 20 liter cube. And then let's take a quick look at the last tank on the shelf. So this one is exactly the same as that one. It just has a different substrate. So right here we're using good quality AQUASOIL, and the other one is just using dirt. Yeah, exactly the same technique. In terms of plant growth, it's very similar as well. But over here the carpet is definitely growing a little bit faster compared to that tank over there. That is the only difference. But right now that we've trimmed all the stems in the background, we've trimmed them at the same time on the same day. It'll be interesting to see which one grows back faster. Okay, so that's the shelf, 5 tanks in total. Now we have 3 left, so let's move on to something bigger. Let's talk about the big shallow. So this is a 4-foot shallow aquarium. So this one is measuring 120 meters from left to right. It's 30 centimeters high and it's 50 centimeters deep. So it roughly holds 180 liters. I'll put on the screen how much that is in gallons. And this one has been up and running for 6 months now. Yeah, I think I've set it up in beginning of July. And right now it's doing pretty good, but it has had a very rough period. Yeah, I'll put a link for a video on the screen right now where I talk all about the issues that I have with this aquarium. But we're not going to talk about that right now, because right now we're just going to enjoy it as it is. It's doing really good. There's basically barely any algae. I'm going to say barely. I want to say no algae, but there is still some algae. So I think it's been 2 weeks since I removed those 2 big rocks and cleaned them completely. They were completely covered with black brush algae, and right now there's not a single spot of BBA anymore. So I'm really happy with that. And during that maintenance session I also trimmed all the plants back really hard. And as you can see, things have grown back pretty nicely. So we have almost a full carpet of the Glossostigma again. And the crypt here, this is Crypt Humanitii compact. I literally trimmed off all of the leaves from the cryptocoryne. So all the plants are growing back really nicely again after that last trimming session. I think the carpet could use another trimming session pretty soon already. But I would be lying if I said that I haven't thought about rescaping this aquarium. But that's something that will happen in next year for sure. We'll keep it for another few months. This aquarium also has the most fish by far. I mean, yeah, it's the biggest tank, so that only makes sense. So in here we have a large group of the amber tetras. We have a group of the gold ring danios. And we have a group of pygmy cories. What's interesting, by the way, I just showed you guys the 2 amber tetras in the 20 liter cube. There's still one right there. The color in those is a lot more orange than the amber tetras over here. They're still orange, but they're not as vibrant orange as the ones that are in the 20 liter cube. I'm wondering if that's just because of the light, or if it's, yeah, it just has to do something with breeding. And these are just yeah, it's like cherry shrimp, you know, like you have these really pure red cherry shrimp, and then there's some cherry shrimp that are just not as red. I wonder if it's the same with these amber tetras, because the difference is definitely noticeable. But these guys are definitely like little piranhas. Every time I sit down in front of the aquarium, they're like, oh, can we get some food now? So let's actually feed these guys as well. So I was trying to see if they would eat from my hand, from the tweezer, but they were a bit too scared. But actually they go a lot more crazy for the dry food, so let's give them some dry food as well so I can show you guys. Here we go, that's what we want to see. So yeah, like I said, there's also a group of pygmy cories in here. But unfortunately they're very shy, so they will only come out if there hasn't been any movement or any vibrations for a good 15 minutes, you know. Then they will start to come out, and they'll be shoaling together with the amber tetras and the gold ring danios, which is really nice to see. But yeah, you usually only see it at night, you know, when I'm sitting on the couch over here and things have just like quiet down a little bit. Then they will start to come out, which is, yeah, a bit of a shame. I didn't know that these pygmy cories will be so shy, but I don't know, maybe it's just the way this tank is designed. Maybe they just need a bit more cover to feel safe. I haven't really shown the technique behind this aquarium in a long time, so let's take a closer look at that. But this is definitely the most high-tech aquarium that I have, which is nice of course, but it also comes with some downsides. I mean, the more technique you have, the more things that can go wrong as well. So let's talk about that a little bit. First off, the light, I have nothing bad to say about that. This is the Skylight Hyperspot. It's literally the best light I ever owned. This is the L, the largest version. And yeah, really amazing light. I'm only running it on 50% because it's so strong. And I think it's suspended 30 centimeters or 35 centimeters from the water surface. Then the aquarium itself is, like I said, it's a 120 by 30 by 50. So roughly 180 liters. And then below the aquarium we have some equipment. So we have the VASE Biomaster 850. This is the largest Biomaster. This is the thermo with the built-in heater. I just did a review about this. It's actually been a few months ago. A few months ago I did a review about this filter. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of things you can say about this filter. It's good. It has some nice features with the pre-filter and everything. But for me, it was very noisy, especially with the air that gets trapped inside. So it was burping a lot. I have managed to kind of fix that. I'll make a whole separate video about that. But at least right now, it's a lot more quiet than it used to be. So I'm really happy about that. And behind the filter, we have a CO2 reactor. It's a bit hard to see. It's basically just a tube where the CO2 gets injected into. And then the water flow from the filter goes through that tube as well. So the CO2 is mixed together with the water from the filter before it enters the aquarium. So by doing that, sorry about the light guys, I'll put that off for a second. So with that CO2 reactor, you basically have a 100% dissolve rate of CO2, which is nice, especially in the shallow aquarium, because yeah, with a regular CO2 diffuser, you know, the CO2 bubbles would go to the surface way too quickly. And it wouldn't be efficient whatsoever. And I also didn't feel like going for a inline CO2 diffuser, because then you have this really visible CO2 mist, which I also didn't really wanted to have in this shallow aquarium. So I'm definitely happy with this CO2 reactor. It's definitely something I would use again if I have another big tank. But like I said, it also has some downsides, because we're using this VASE filter, which still sometimes pushes out some air bubbles. The reactor also gets filled with air, and that's something that we don't really want to happen. But yeah, unfortunately that's a little bit unavoidable right now. And then on this side we have the CO2 system. So this is a 2 kilogram pressurized bottle with a planted box regulator. It's a great piece of kit. And then we have the Intaco controller. So this is like a small computer that's capable of regulating the CO2, adjusting the light, and it's also able to auto-dose your liquid fertilizers, but I still need to set it up. I've recently switched to a new liquid fertilizer, so I still need to yeah, attach that to those two dosing pumps. So yeah, we definitely have a bit more technique going on compared to my other aquariums, but it's nice to have a bit of both, you know, like low tech, high tech, super high tech. So that's everything on this side of the room. 7 down, and we have 2 left. Here we have number 8 and number 9, so the last 2. So we have a 70 liter Scapers tank and a 35 liter Scapers tank, and this one is completely overgrown. I do apologize, this was not really supposed to happen, but yeah, sometimes life just gets in the way. This one houses my Galaxy Pinto Tiger shrimp, and they're still doing very, very good. So this tank, we're not going to talk about it too much today. I'm going to fix this tank, and there'll be a video for maybe Friday or maybe next week, Tuesday. So let's wrap up the video with the 70 liter Scapers tank. It's almost the end of November, and I've set this up in the 3rd of December. So this one is literally like a year old. For the past 3 weeks, I've been running this aquarium without CO2. It has been receiving CO2 during its entire lifetime. But I was already planning to rescape this one, and I just kind of wanted to slow down the plant growth. So 3 weeks ago I removed the CO2 from this aquarium, and yeah, since then it's just been ticking along. The removal of the CO2 definitely had an impact on the plants, especially the moss. So if you take a look at this moss right here, this is Physidens fontanus, and it just doesn't look as healthy as it was looking with CO2 injection. So this moss definitely suffered a little bit from the lack of CO2 basically. I mean, the stem plants still look very, very good. I mean, the color is just insane. It's like proper, it's not even red anymore, it's just purple. One of the reasons why those stem plants are so crazy purple is because I haven't been dosing any liquid fertilizers either in the past 3 weeks. So for the past 3 weeks, no CO2 and no liquid fertilizers, and then yeah, we're left with this. I mean, from a distance it definitely looks good, but once you get closer and you start to really take a look at the plants, you see that there are some issues. So we already talked about the moss, and if we look at the plants from the top, yeah, let's see over there, see, you can see that the leaves are a little bit like damaged. They just, I mean, the top of the stems are looking healthy, but everything below that is just not as healthy. So like I said, this aquarium used to have CO2 injection, and then I removed it. I removed the CO2, I stopped dosing liquid fertilizers, and I've also reduced the light intensity. So is that something I would recommend? I think it depends on the plants. So right now we have the Physidens moss and the stem plants, and they definitely seem to not be too happy about it. I mean, they still look okay, but they're just not really healthy, you know. But for example, if we take a look at the Bucephalandras, they are looking still just fine, and actually the Hygrophila pinnatifida is also growing just fine as well. So it depends a little bit on what kind of plants you have. So this aquarium will be rescaped soon. This weekend I'm going to Barcelona for a few days, and when we come back I will probably take this down and start thinking about something new, what else we can do with this aquarium. I already have a few cool ideas in mind, but I'm not 100% sure yet what kind of scape I would like to create. Now this aquarium doesn't really have that many fish. We have 3 of the spotted blue eye rainbows, the Pseudomugil Gertruda, I think it is. Again, leftovers from a big group that I bought a few years ago. And besides that, we have actually a nice group of pygmy cories as well, but a different kind. These are the tail spot cories. Again, very, very shy, so yeah, I don't know what I'm doing wrong with these cories. It's really a bummer because they're super cute, super nice, and I just wish I would see them more, you know. Just a quick rundown of the equipment. So this is a 70 liter Scapers tank from Dennerle. So this one measures 50 centimeters from left to right. It's 36 centimeters high, and it's 39 centimeters front to back. So yeah, roughly 70 liters. Then the light is the Chihiros WRGB version 2, the 45 centimeter adjustable version. And then inside the cabinet we have the filter and the CO2 system that we're not using right now. Filter is the VASE FiltoSmart 300. So this one is a bit more quiet than the Biomaster. Doesn't have that same problems with the air bubbles. So this one I actually like a bit more. And then attached to the filter we have the AQUARIUM Neo flows. So those are the plastic in and outflow basically, which I'm still enjoying. I've been using these for a couple of months now, and it's just good. I like that small skimmer. We also have a nice clear water surface, no biofilm, no oily layer on top of the water surface. And I really like this attachment, the spin pipe attachment, because I'm using quite a strong filter. The VASE Filter Smart 300 is like 1100 liters per hour. So yeah, the flow is not too strong with this attachment, so that's good. So maybe I have a little bit of a multiple tank syndrome, but that's the end of the room tour, guys. Really hope you enjoyed this one. Now do me a favor and let me know in the comments which Aquascape is your favorite, which tank was your favorite. Always curious to know. Really hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to smash that like button, and I'll see you next time. Take care.